Gaming Bolt presents 15 companions that were far more interesting than you. It's all too easy to spectacularly bungle a video game companion character, and there have been several high-profile examples over the years that support this notion, unfortunately enough. But by that same token, there have also been games that have featured some truly amazing companion characters who are along with us for the journey, or at least parts of it, and make it so much richer than it would have been without them. Characters who constantly delight us with their amazing personalities and antics. This feature is dedicated to all of those characters, and we're here to list 15 of them. Do note that this isn't a comprehensive list by any means, and given the sheer number of amazing companions we've seen in games over the years, there's every chance that we've missed out on several notable ones. So, if you can think of a name that you don't see on this list, don't forget to mention in your comments. Warning, there may be some spoilers ahead. Trip, Enslaved, Odyssey to the West. Enslaved Odyssey to the West is a woefully overlooked and criminally underrated game, and the character of Trip is perfectly emblematic of just how good a game it was. On paper, Trip should be nothing more than yet another annoying character in a glorified escort mission. You literally have to carry her weight, but she proves to be so much more. During gameplay, she can actually be pretty helpful, but what helps her really stand out is just how well written she is as a character, plain and simple. That excellent writing is backed up by equally excellent acting and voice work, and watching her relationship with Monkey grow over the course of the game is one of the highlights in an excellent game. Blade Wolf, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. Some characters are great because of excellent personalities, others are great because of cool designs, still others are remembered for the excellent relationships they share with other characters. Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance's Blade Wolf has all three of those going for him. For starters, he's a cool-looking robot wolf with a giant freaking chainsaw attached to his body, so that's a million points in the bag right off the bat. The game also defines him as being superior to others of his kind, which makes him even cooler. Add to that his relationship with Raiden and how it grows and changes over time, and what you have is a truly memorable character. Daxter, Jack and Daxter. As the famous saying goes, behind every hero, there's an obnoxious wisecracking nincompoop. But this nincompoop, in our view at least, deserves much more attention than said hero. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with Jack, but Daxter's complete inability to take anything seriously and his aptitude for expertly injecting levity into any and every situation is without equal. The fact that Daxter can have his own game and then be able to hold our attention for the entirety of that game without having to fall back on Jack of any kind of support speaks volumes on how amazing of a character he is. Mimir, God of War. A year ago, if you had told me that a God of War game would have a comic relief character, or as close to comic relief as this series can actually get without forgetting what it's all about, and actually do it well, I'd have laughed in your face. But that is exactly what Mimir does. His wit, his sense of humor are constant sources of delight and laughter. His remarks and observations are consistently amazing, and the way he interacts with and plays off the other characters of Kratos and Atreus makes him a genuinely endearing character. Not to mention his stories during the boat rides, those seriously steal the show. GARRUS VAKARIAN, Mass Effect. Oh look, it's everybody's best bud, best bro, the most badass Turian in the entire galaxy, GARRUS VAKARIAN. It's very rare to see a single character be so thoroughly attached with the very identity of an entire series, but GARRUS surely sits in that small and exclusive bracket, which is a pretty huge deal when you think of just how many amazing characters we've seen in Mass Effect games over the years. From his skills in combat, to just how he always has Shepard's back, to his obsession with calibrations, there's just so much about Garrus that instantly makes you fall in love with his character. Clementine, Telltale's The Walking Dead Season 1. The Walking Dead's first season, the Telltale game mind you, not the show, was an absolute revelation, though the show's first season was pretty rad too. There were many things that made it stand out the year that it launched, but the one thing that everyone latched onto was Clementine. Little Clem, and that's not hard to see why. Children are often constant sources of annoyance in video games, but Clem was a real trooper, showing real maturity in the face of constant adversity and dealing with horrors with unimaginable strength. Looking at her growth and the woman she's become in subsequent seasons can't help but bring a prideful tear to your eyes. CLAPTRAP, Borderlands. In a series that boasts of legendary characters such as Handsome Jack and Shooty McShootface, CLAPTRAP somehow manages to stand out even still. It's not hard to love this eccentric trash can of robot with his hilarious dialogue and his manic voice. Well, sure, he thinks of you as more of a minion than a friend, and sure, he does technically try to raise an army of robots to wipe out the entire human race, but he's a funny robot, so we'll give him a pass. Wheatley, Portal 2. Portal 2 is a spectacular game for many, many reasons, and the top of the list, or at least very close to the top, is Wheatley. This fast-talking robot serves as a helpful guide, well, at first anyways, to Chell as she tries to escape from Aperture Labs once again, and the excellent writing is brought to life in a memorable performance by Stephen Merchant. Sure, Wheatley does try to kill you eventually, but again, he's a funny robot, so we'll give him a pass. Your co-op partner, A Way Out. This is a tricky one. We're not saying either Vincent or Leo is an inherently more interesting character than the other, though by all means, do tell us which one you prefer. Nor are we saying the person you're playing with is a more interesting person than you, though they very well might be, who knows. But that co-op partner represents something wonderful. They represent unpredictability and dynamism, a perfect foil to you and your own exploits, which you obviously are all too familiar with. Essentially, that's true for any game that has this much of a focus on co-op, and more specifically couch co-op, because that is infinitely more fun. But A Way Out constantly keeps finding ways to leverage the benefits of couch co-op better than most games do in today's day and age. Sully, Uncharted. Victor Goddamn Sullivan, aka the very definition of cool. Where would Nathan Drake be without Sully? Where would Uncharted be without Sully? This guitar-toting, age-defying man never says no to a world-hopping treasure hunt, but more importantly, he always has Nate's back, no matter what. He has come to the aid of his young apprentice in tight spots, right in the nick of time on countless occasions, and over time we've come to love his presence in our adventures just as much as Nate himself does. I'm sure I speak for all Uncharted fans when I say that an Uncharted game that has more of Sully instantly becomes better in multiple ways. D-Dog, Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. Here's the thing about D-Dog. He is, as his name suggests, a dog. And when you first meet him, he's a cute little puppy, so you instantly love him, unless you're some sort of monster who doesn't like dogs. And then he grows up and turns into probably the most helpful companion in the entire game. He can tag enemies, he can be equipped with a knife that he holds in his mouth, he can distract soldiers when you sneak around. Also, you can pet him. Alex Vance, Half-Life 2. Alex Vance appeared in Half-Life 2 as a strong, reliable companion character at a time when video games were plagued with annoying escort missions, which made her an instant favorite for everyone who had played the game. Other than being the perfect foil for the emotionless and voiceless Gordon Freeman, she also proves to be incredibly useful throughout the game, from her excellent abilities with any weapon she can get her hands on, to her willingness to open locked doors, to her aptitude with hacking computers and reprogramming minds. Can't wait to see her again in Half-Life 3. Oh, wait. Cicero, The Elder Scrolls V: Skyrim. It's not hard for a companion character in Skyrim to be more interesting than the protagonist because, well, the Dragonborn by design has no personality. But Cicero is a truly fascinating character. He's wonderfully unhinged, his ramblings oscillate between pure inane babble and horrifyingly psychopathic chatter almost constantly. He's not a very good guy, but he's probably the most interesting one in all of Skyrim. The Dark Brotherhood storyline is a fascinating one as it is, but Cicero makes it so much more interesting. Strong, Fallout 4. The fact that you can have a super mutant as a companion character in Fallout 4 should be enough to make you understand just why we love Strong as much as we do, isn't it? Well, how about the fact that he's also an absolute tank with vast amounts of HP? Or how about the fact that he can do loads of damage, especially if you equip him with a massive melee weapon, which he can then crush your enemies in a second while you just sit back and enjoy the show? How about the fact that he has 70 special stats? Or the fact that he can carry loads of items and serves as the best mule in the entire game. Honestly, if that last one doesn't sway you, you're just being unreasonable. Johnson, Shadows of the Damned. Shadows of the Damned, you weird, wonderful game you. Johnson, Garcia's trusty demon sidekick, encapsulates everything that is great about this game. He's a gun, a torch, a motorcycle, and an awesome character all at the same time. In combat, Johnson can take the form of a pistol, a rifle, and a shotgun, and he kicks like an absolute mule. It's often said for sidekick characters that the protagonist would get nowhere without them, but rarely is it ever as true as it is in the case of Shadows of the Damned. And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from Gaming Bolt, you can always hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon next to it. That way you will never miss any of our videos.